talk about scrunchies. I've been trying to figure out a great beginner sewing project, and I thought a scrunchie would be awesome. So then I started researching them, and I figured out just how many options you have when it comes to scrunchies. So first, let's look over the options, and then I'm going to show you how to make one particular kind at the end of this video. And if you want to see some other variations of that, I'll make some other videos after this. But first, let's just get a basic kind going. Now, one thing about this project is it's small, so it's low cost, and you can experiment with a lot of different techniques and fabrics without a lot of investment money-wise. So if you mess one up, it doesn't kill you just to toss it in the trash. And you can also make a lot for some of your friends or your kids or whoever. Be a great little stocking stuffer or a little gift. But anyway, let's get started. The inside of the scrunchie is where you have to begin, and you really have two options. It's the hair tie or elastic. So some people like to do the hair ties, just the ponytail holders, and you have a lot of different options there. You can do the large ones, you can do the small ones. These are like a rolled type of thing. They'll work good. I do suggest that you stay away from any that have the metal on them, because it's going to be a fiddly little project under the needle anyway, and this is just a hazard you really don't want to deal with. So, hair ties. Now, the other one, and this seems to be the most popular one, is just using elastic. Well, there's a lot of different kinds of elastic. There's a lot of different widths of elastic. You know, you can start off with, well, let's see. The 1/4 inch seems to be the most popular, which is about this width here. I don't know if that's showing up well. And then it goes all the way, I mean, there's probably even larger than the 1 inch. There's also braided and soft. Now, braided or no roll elastic is much stiffer than the soft. I prefer the soft. I really thought I was going to prefer having them out of the ponytail holders, but I have gotten where I like the elastic ones better. And they're much easier to make. You know, you can, the technique in making one with elastic is a lot easier than trying to sew around a ponytail holder that's already made. Okay, so kind of give that some thought. Do you think you want to try making them with elastic or with ponytail holders? The one I'm going to show you at the end is going to be done with 1/4 inch elastic. Okay, now let's talk about the fabric. The kind of fabric you use and the amount of fabric you use will determine what your end result looks like. So, for example, here are 3 different scrunchies, all made out of the same fabric and the same elastic. So you can see how much difference there is. Then there's, you know, here's one made out of a satin. This was made out of a knit. Fabric has a weight to it. If you choose something real flowy, like this chiffon one, you're going to get, you know, a really lightweight but fluffy look. If you choose a thick knit like this one was, you're going to get a really thick, stiffish kind of product. You can also use the cotton, like the quilting cotton that has all the different prints you can get, especially for little girls. So that's, you know, your first option or your first choice is to figure out what fabric do you want to use. Now, the weight of the fabric is, you know, like chiffon is very light. The knit is thicker. Now, I had some I made out of a jersey knit, which is, you know, it's a knit, but it's really lightweight. So just kind of feel your fabric and feel how heavy or how light it is. These scrunchies are made from a rectangle, so it's going to have a length and a width. How large your rectangle is going to determine how your scrunchie looks. So, for example, these two, and you can tell the difference in the puffiness of them. These two were made out of the same width of fabric. It was a 6-inch rectangle, but this one was 60 inches long and this one was only 30 inches long, so that's half, okay? And I pretty much have decided that's what I stick with, is a 60-inch or a 30-inch and a 6-inch wide or a 3-inch wide. The 3-inch will give you the small one like this. So let's look at some different fabrics. Fabrics come in different widths off the bolt. Now this is a chiffon, and when it's cut off the bolt, it's folded. If you unfold it, it's 60 inches wide, okay? Now the edges right here where it's finished, this is called a selvage. So if you cut from selvage to selvage all the way across here, that's called a width of fabric, and sometimes that is abbreviated as WOF. So if you see a pattern that says WOF, that means you cut all the way from one side to another. This is a 58 to 60 inch fabric. The satin is 58 to 60 inches. This really soft knit was 58 to 60, as was the larger, thicker knit. Now, for example, if you look at the cotton, you can see that it is not nearly as wide. And let me line it up right. You can see the cotton is not as wide. Most cottons, most quilting cottons like this, they run 42 to 44 inches wide. But they're a little bit stiffer fabric, so you don't need as much, okay? So, as far as the rectangle goes, like I said, I'm using usually a 6-inch wide, primarily because I have a 6-inch ruler, but that seems to be a good width. Now, for example, this was 6 inches wide, 60 inches long. This one was 6 inches wide and half that, 30 inches. And then this was 3 inches by 30 inches. So just, you know, kind of play with some of them and see, you know, get an idea of what you want. I love making them out of that satin. And this is a whole 60-inch strip on this one. Okay? So, let me get a strip of fabric and a piece of elastic. Now, I'm cutting my elastic 8.5 inches. I saw some people said 8, some said 9, and I kind of split the difference, and that seems to be pretty comfortable, work pretty well. But hey, play with it yourself, you know. Pick out what works best for you. So, we're going to start with one piece of elastic that is 8.5 inches long, and we're going to use one strip of fabric that is 6 inches wide by the width of the fabric. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This lovely piece of red is 60 inches wide all the way across and 6 inches across the short end. So I guess it's really 60 inches long by 6 inches wide. Now I'm going to cut off the ends. I'm just going to trim straight across here because this is the selvage and it doesn't have the same kind of give or manipulation that the rest of it does. So I'm going to cut off the selvage real quick with a ruler and a blade. If you don't have a mat and a ruler and a rotary cutter, you can still make these. Just trace the rectangle out. Don't stress over the scrunchies. You know, if you're going to stress over the scrunchies, you're not going to enjoy sewing, and you're just, you know, you're wasting your time. If you're not going to enjoy it, then don't do it. Just have fun. So I've trimmed that off. Now, we're going to fold this, first of all, so that the right sides are together. Okay, you want the right sides, the shiny sides, face to face. And the first seam that we're going to do is straight across here. Okay, so let's go over to the machine and we'll stitch this up. Okay, we're at the machine now. And I normally would put thread that matches the fabric in, but I think it'll be easier for you to see it if I just use a light colored thread. Now, my tension is set on 4. That's usually where I leave it unless I see a problem. Over here, my stitch selection, I'm gonna be on the 8, just a straight stitch, not too long, not too wide. I mean, not too long, not too short, in other words. Okay, like I said, our first thing is to put the right sides together. So I have the shiny sides together, and we are just gonna stitch all the way across the short end. Now you wanna put your raw edges right here. And I don't really have a seam allowance on this, so I'm just going to line up the edge of my fabric a little bit outside of the edge of the foot. You want to make sure that this feed dog, that's what the little serrated metal thing under here, you want to make sure that your fabric is, you know, completely on it. So just get there and go a little bit past the edge. Let this foot down. Maybe you can see better if I do this, okay? And hold on to your tails. You're not pulling them, you're just holding them so they don't get sucked back up in the machine. And then I'm going to turn the hand wheel towards me and I'm going to sink the needle down. This gets me started. Now, I'm going to take a stitch and then I'm going to hold down my reverse lever so that I do a couple of stitches backwards. And then let it go, and we're going to sew forward, just guiding the fabric so that it stays even with the edge, all the way across. Now when you get to the end, you'll want to take a back stitch again, or 2. And then let it come on off the edge of your fabric, okay? The needle up, lift the foot, and pull. If you start to pull out and you can't, it won't come out, turn the hand wheel slightly towards you. That'll release the tension. And then come over here to the edge and cut the thread. Now, we have the first seam done. So we're gonna open this out. Okay, we have our seam done. Now I'm going to clip the threads there, put them over to the side. And you have the right sides still facing each other. See, my shiny sides are still together, or your print side, but you have the right sides on the inside, okay? This is called the burrito method. And it looks a little difficult, but once you do it once or twice, it's not hard at all. So now, flip it over so that that seam is on the bottom, okay? Then, you don't have to be real picky about this. We are going to, this top part, you're going to fold it over. You're actually just going to scrunch it up some, okay, like the inside of a burrito. Then you're going to pick up these 2 outside layers and fold your seam. Just pick a side. I'm going to fold mine to the left and match it up with the seam on the other side. So I have my 2 seams matched up and the raw edges even. Okay, pinch it together and we're going to pull the machine to us. Ouch. Okay, and we're going to slip this right under the presser foot here. Make sure those seams stay matched up, and I have it edges together and just outside the foot just a little bit, okay? That's what we've got going on now. And sink that needle and I'm going to try to hold my threads so they don't get sucked up under there. And I'm just going to take a stitch or two. And then I'm going to hold the reverse lever down and go back a stitch or two or three. Okay, now we're in for the long haul. We are fixing to sew these edges together. So let me get down here. Now when you get to the point where you're out of fabric, I'll show you what to do then. So let's just slowly sew and make sure you're shoving this under here. Okay, you got to keep that folded part away. You don't want to catch it in the sewing. You're only sewing those two outside edges. And this is a fantastic place to use your handy dandy little holding tool so you don't get your fingers sucked up under there. Okay, now I'm out of fabric. What you want to do when you stop is make sure your needle is down in the fabric because we're fixing to pull on it. And if you don't have your needle down in the fabric, it's going to move the fabric and your next stitch will be all wonky and might get things messed up. So, open it up just a little. You're going to reach in here and grab the inside part and you're just going to slide it out. It's just going to come out. Now you can go up here and hold the outside layer down so that it doesn't come. And this inside part, you're just slipping it out. Okay? And then we're going to readjust. Make sure, the inside is tucked, folded up in there. Make sure that your raw edges are even again. That is all stuffed up in there like it should be. And then we're just going to keep doing that. Sewing the edges and pulling more out. Tucking that burrito part up in there until we are all the way around. And we're almost to the place where we started. So I made these cute little mom tags that I'm going to insert into my seam right now so that whoever I gift it to knows that it was made by Mom. Won't these be cute little stocking stuffers when they see the tag? I'm sure they'll be impressed. Okay, so here is the point where all I have now is finished. There's like a 1 or 2 inch gap between where I started and where I'm ending, and it folds over itself. It makes this weird little, fold because I've been pulling this through the hole. So I've got my needle stuck in there. I'm going to take a couple of stitches backwards. To lock it, and then raise the needle, lift the presser foot, and pull it out. So this is what it looks like right now. Here's the part that's already been finished, and here's the rest of it. Now I can pull this through the hole, and you see what's coming out is the finished part. Okay, and I have this little hole left in here. That's where I'm going to put the elastic in. So take your elastic, and like I said, 8.5, 9 inches. You can try a couple. Now this is a little trick. You're going to need two, well, they have all kind of fancy tools for this, but I have two fairly large safety pins. So I'm going to put one pin in one end of the elastic, just run it through there. And I'm going to take the other end and I'm going to put the pin through the elastic and through the other side of my tube over here. You don't have to be exact because you're going to take this off. This will keep you from losing your elastic because we're fixing to thread it through this whole tube. And sometimes you lose it and then you have to start all over. So put your pin, thread the safety pin through this hole, and we're just going to start sliding it through there a little bit and then grab it and pull it. Okay, and you don't have to worry about holding this in because the pin has it. So we're just going to go all the way around, sliding this in there. You push it a little bit with this hand and then slide that back. We're going to work all the way through the tube till we get till we come out the other side, just slipping and slipping. Bring it on down. Now you see the benefit of pinning that other end. And we're almost there. Okay, here's where we started. So we're going to get this pin, try to hold on to that one. There it comes. Okay, so now I have them both out. Pull on this one a little bit. Don't let go of it. Now we're going to unpin this side, and be careful. Don't take it all the way out of your elastic. Grab that elastic before you pull the pin out. So now we have this side and pull that on up. And here's this side. Undo that pin. Now, you have options here. You can try to put these together and get them under the machine and sew it, but I'm going to tell you, that's not fun. And it usually doesn't hold very well in my experience. So, take these two together and just tie an overhand knot, just like you're tying a balloon, the end of a balloon. Pull that through. And you don't have to get it right at the end. Just tighten it on up there, okay? So that's what we have. It's going to be fine. You're not going to be able to tell that there's a knot inside all this poof. Now, just give it a few tugs. Let that get sunk back in there. Now, we have this opening here that we have to deal with. And you have options here as well. You can get a needle and thread and hand sew it, and that's usually what I do because I like for it to look the same all the way around. But I'm going to show you, if you don't have time for that, you can put it right under your machine and just stitch over the top of it just where the opening is. Okay? Tuck it in, tuck the raw edges in, fold them under so that you have a nice finished edge right there. And then you can slip it right under your needle. Start a little bit before where the opening is. And this is a good place for your little tucker here. And make sure you're catching both sides. So you want to pull that bottom part out a little bit. And normally I do a little bit neater job of this, but this satin is extremely fiddly. If you want to get a really good seam, you can press it closed before you sew it. So, and yes, you can see it. So, like I said, I normally use a thread that matches the fabric. So you would want to do this with red thread, but I thought using a lighter color, you know, you'll be able to see it better. And this is why I usually just stitch this up by hand. I'll make a few of them, and then while I'm sitting there watching TV, I'll just hand stitch them shut real quick. But this is your finished scrunchie. Now this was with a 6" by 30" by 6" by 60" rectangle, so it's nice and poofy. Okay, so now that you've got it poofed out, you're good to go. Wrap it up, and someone has a really nice gift. Now, like I said, there's other options. There's a different method you need to use if you're going to use the ponytail holder. So I will make another video with that. There's also some other little techniques you can use to make, you know, cute finishes or whatever. So watch for some more scrunchie videos coming. And thanks for watching this one. Be sure and hit subscribe or hit the like button. Ask me any questions if you have them. Bye.